All right, my friends. So here we go. It's been said you have to be careful. Watch your back. We have a new Ariel Helwani v2.0 on our hands, and this is no joke. And the first one that has been feeling the heat, been feeling the new vibe, is Brendan Schaub, who made the mistake to say that people who work with Ariel Helwani find him difficult to work with. So are we saying that Ariel Helwani is a prima donna or stuff like that? We don't know, and I don't know either. To be honest with you, Ariel Helwani, I mean, he's not my bag basically. And I'm not going to dwell about the issue that he had with Brendan Schaub, saying that now we are in the era of the EL1, the independent Ariel Helwani, right? Which is good, I think. I think that this is a great stuff. I mean, there's so much mouthpiece of the UFC running around right now and running them out. Like you got what? You got your Michael Bisping, you got your Daniel Cormier, you got your you got who? Oh yeah, your Charles Sonnen. That is actually the first one, on the front line with for the UFC. That it's refreshing to see someone, let's say, who is independent, who doesn't care if he has to meet, Dana White in a company meeting somewhere and then explain why he didn't follow and the UFC narrative. And this is refreshing in that sense. But I'm going to give my honest opinion about Ariel Helwani, to be honest with you guys. He's not someone, and I don't really care about all the fuss that he's doing right now in terms of 2.0, but I'm going to give my general opinion about Ariel Helwani. He's someone that basically, first of all, I'm going to say it straight up, so that there's no confusion, that I respect. I respect the work. I respect his roadmap, how he did, the hard work he did to get to the point where he is right now, starting from a little reporter, with no real, I would say, a lot of backups, and you know what, starting slow, right, and now being big time, and being considered what a good UFC or MMA reporter should be, right, and especially also knowledge wise. Now let me give you my honest opinion. I've always find Ariel Helwani boring. Unfortunately, that's what I have to say. If I have to be real, I'm going to be real. I've always found him funny, boring, right? And I think that I don't like the tone of his voice. I don't like I don't know. I don't like the guy. I don't feel the guy. It's not that I don't like him, but it's just that it's hard for me to sit down for an hour and listen to Ariel Helwani. I think that is very boring. I think that his tone of voice is very boring. I think that he doesn't have a lot of intonation, a lot of activity in your voice to keep you, to keep you hooked up to listen to him. I mean, you got great guys, even if they're the mouthpiece of the UFC, and the UFC don't choose them for nothing, right? Guys like Daniel Cormier, who's very interesting when you hear him work. There's a lot of pep, there's a lot of energy in his voice. Unlike for Ariel Helwani. The same thing with Joe Rogan. There's a lot of activity. I like his grain of voice. There's a lot of action in his voice as well when he speaks. More, on top of the passion and everything, right? I like these guys, and you can say the same thing about the Bisping. You can say the same thing about the Chael Sonnen, right? Even if those guys are mouthpiece of the UFC, they know. I mean, they're interesting when you hear them, whether they're interviewing someone or whether they're in the monologue or something or reporting something. Which is unlike Ariel Helwani, where I think his voice is boring. There's not a lot of action in his voice, and it's really difficult for me to follow an Ariel interview for an hour. It's really excruciating pain to follow him for an hour. Now, the thing that is good about him is that at least what he's saying at some time makes sense, even if he hasn't always been the case, especially against Dana White, right? I mean, Dana White, Ariel had he had his time, man. I think that he didn't choose his opponent, especially going against Dana White. I remember, like, who said that? He was in Lucky, right? Lucky, when the guy said, Kane said, okay, oh, you're like a flea in the back of a dragon. And I think that's what Helwani was when he had his feud with Dana White, right? That's what he was. He was a flea in the back of a dragon, and Dana White took him for a hell of a ride, right? And that's how he was. But it's really refreshing to see that now he's independent. He's able to say what the fuck he wants to say, what the hell he wants to say, without having to fear that, okay, Dana White is going to say this, Dana White is going to forbid him in a press conference, or so on and so forth. So yeah, it's good for him. But like I said, if to be honest with you, that's not a guy in terms of the guy that I listen to, that are commenting and analyzing or interviewing fighters, that I love to that I like to hear, because I really think, in my opinion, that this is a boring guy. It's a boring interviewer with a boring voice. And also, when we use example, you know what? I wanted to talk about Ariel Helwani some time ago, right? And I didn't. But this issue with Brendan Schaub and him coming out as now he's going to step up the plate. By the way, if you want to step up the plate, I hope you're training MMA or stuff like that, because you're going to cross paths with those guys at one point. So you better be ready at least to duck, turn around and run. But yeah, so it's refreshing now, at least, after all his trouble with Dana White, putting pressure on companies that that have worked with Helwani to let him down, to let him go. It's refreshing to see someone that is independent and that can talk his free mind about everything that happens in the MMA world, the UFC world, because we understand that the UFC is trying to polarize and trying to control the narrative against around the UFC. So it's good to hear something that is a little bit different. You know what, Chael, Daniel Poirier, Bisping, and all these mouthpieces of the UFC, right? They don't fool us. They don't fool us. We just like to hear them because they're entertaining. And that's the thing, when I hear Helwani, it's not entertaining, right? Is what you see is what you get, right? What you have to the only thing that you have to expect for Helwani is the content. Is the content good? Because you're not going to be entertained by his demeanor, his actions, his word, his expressions, and all that. No, you're not going to be entertained. But the content is interesting, so that's what you can hold on to. So yeah, that's my thought about Helwani. So I wanted to talk about him, right? I was saying I wanted to talk about him. I didn't, right? Because I thought that, no, I'm gonna leave it. But when he came out, and then I said, yeah, and his issue with Brendan Schaub, then I said, yeah, I'm gonna say a little bit of something here. Why not? You know what? Let's drop something. And what I wanted to say first was about his presence, his appearance on the BET. Actually, he was a major, one of the major interviewer and reporter in that. He was even one of the guy who asked the question of to the fighter after his win or his defeat. And I mean, he had a pretty big role in during that Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley fight. Did the face-to-face, the one-on-one interview with the fighters. A main event, even Tony Fury and all that stuff. So it was pretty big, right? But to be honest with you, I didn't see what he was doing there, because these guys are he's got the tag of MMA and UFC all around him, right? So when he's going in there, you don't think that it's going to be fair and impartial, right? This guy, he's MMA UFC brand, everybody knows that. And when we hear him do the commentary, the commentating, and the same thing with the face-to-face, we know, we can feel, we can hear that he had more he was biased towards the UFC and bias that towards the boxing. When I say bias towards the boxing, is that he doesn't consider boxing, at the level of the UFC, obviously. And to be honest with you, obviously he wanted Tyron Woodley to win. He's an MMA guy, right? So he wanted Tyron Woodley to win. He wanted the UFC to win. He wanted a five-time champion of the UFC to win. So my understanding is that, my thinking is that already, to me, he's a boring guy in terms of talking in front of a microphone. He's boring. He makes me want to sleep. His tone of voice is boring. There's no action. There's no big expression like you got those guys who have interesting expression that are funny. He's not funny. It's pretty much depressing. So I don't understand what he was doing there and why they took him, other than maybe piss Dana White off, right? But needless to say that definitely his role in there, as being partial, was not met. Definitely he was impartial. Definitely he was biased towards UFC and Tyron Woodley. That's what I think. And so, to me, he had nothing to do there. And that's the comments that I wanted to say. I think that it was a little bit funny. And that's where I think that is kind of, that's the interesting passage from being a UFC, being controlled by Dana White, and now an independent that has to sell his soul to anybody else, and that has to try to please to anybody else, right? So he was trying to be impartial, you know what I mean? But it didn't show, right? So right now, what happened is that we see that I see that he wasn't at his place there. He was definitely not at this place during that fight. So that's the comments that I wanted to say back then. Now this issue with Brandon Sharp gave me the opportunity to do it and to kind of give a little words of what I thought about this, because man, I didn't really feel good. I didn't really like it that much. The first of all, that he was there, that he was the one presenting and doing the face-to-face and all that stuff, right? And also the fact that he was biased towards the UFC in a boxing, during a boxing event that actually gave him his pay, and where some of the fights in there were really amazing, were really great. So yeah, that's my final word on Ariel Helwani 2.0. But good that he's not under the pressure of Dana White now, and that he can say whatever he wants to say to whoever he wants to say it. So good on you, Mr. Ariel 2.0, right? Hope you reign for a long time. Hail the new king, right? So yeah, so people, don't hesitate. Press the little subscribe button if you want to. Drop thumbs up, thumbs down. You know how it is. Doesn't matter. And drop some comments if you want to. I'd be more than happy to read and reply